If you guys are trying to take your training to the next level and you want to increase your speed, your power, your conditioning, then you gotta check out Phil Daru's 8-week heavy hitter boxing program. I'm telling you guys right now, there's no
Man, shout out to Dante's Boxing Nation.
DBN Nation, of course, support DBN Nation. You're hearing it from Floyd Money Mayweather.
It's Terence Crawford and you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.
This is Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder and you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation, baby.
Hi, you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation. Woo! Hey.
If you know, you know. Now, if you know Timothy Bradley been contradicting himself every time he's on camera, then what's understood don't got to be explained. Now, I do want to say that with friends like Timothy Bradley, who needs enemies? I'm going to say it again. With a friend like Timothy Bradley that Terence Crawford has, Terence Crawford does not need any enemies. Now, that being said, Timothy Bradley, you gonna get this work today. You gonna get this work on some Loaded Lux work. So, since Andre Ward already took Timothy Bradley to school and cooked him up, we're gonna finish the job by taking Timothy Bradley to the IQ University and put a little season on him. Now, Timothy Bradley brought up some arguments like, you gotta understand, Lomachenko, he turned pro and won a belt in his third fight. He was on a fast track. Now, Andre Ward responded by telling him, well, he had 400 amateur fights, so he's supposed to be on a fast track. Now, Timothy Bradley responded by saying, well, that's not the case for all fighters because obviously Ramirez, the guy who beat Shakur Stevenson in the amateurs, he had 2 gold medals and 400 amateur fights. However, he lost his pro debut. However, we're not talking about Ramirez. We're talking about Terence Crawford. However, since he brought it up, let's talk about it. Every fighter is not the same. Since we're not comparing Ramirez to Lomachenko, we're comparing Lomachenko to Terence Crawford. That doesn't matter. The reason why, Rigondeaux, when he turned pro, he wanted to fight for a title shot, his first fight. However, Bob Arum couldn't guarantee him that, and he told him, you got to earn your shot. And Rigondeaux ended up winning a title shot after 7 fights, I believe. Then after that, with 10 fights, he defeated Donaire when Donaire was the 3rd pound for pound in the world, while being undefeated. Undefeated is the key word because obviously Lomachenko lost his second fight to Salido, a washed version of Salido that Lomachenko ended up even turning down the rematch, not wanting the rematch, claiming that he has nothing to gain of beating Salido, even though that's the man that took your undefeated record, regardless if you just turned pro or not. So the $1 million question is, why didn't Timothy Bradley praise Rigondeaux the same way he praised Lomachenko today, even though Rigondeaux had 2 gold medals, turned pro, won a title on a fast track, and beat a top 3 pound for pound fighter with only 10 fights while staying undefeated? And keep in mind, he was the most feared fighter at the time, unified the division, had to move up from the 118 pound to the 122 pound, and he chased Donaire. I didn't see Timothy Bradley give Rigondeaux the credit he's giving Lomachenko today. And for the people that want to point out Lomachenko defeated Rigondeaux, like Andre Ward said, it matters when you defeat your opponent. They could be washed up, like the way Salido was washed up when he actually defeated Lomachenko. So it do matter when you fight your opponent. So Lomachenko fought the X-Man that Bradley liked to point out, and Rigondeaux when they were inactive. When Walters wanted the fight at 126, and I know that because I reported on it, Bob Arum didn't want to make that fight happen. Lomachenko team was hesitant. However, Lomachenko was in a hurry to fight Walters when he was inactive. Same thing for Rigondeaux. Rigondeaux was fighting once a year. He was 10 years older than Lomachenko. He was 2 divisions smaller, and to make matter worse, Rigondeaux was inactive while Lomachenko was heavily active. So Obviously, it wasn't a fair fight. And when Rigondeaux wanted that fight at 126 years ago, Bob Arum said absolutely not. He tried to lowball Rigondeaux. Lomachenko wasn't interested in that bout, really. And that's why that fight didn't get made at 126 at the time. And like I said, when Rigondeaux called him out, they lowballed Rigondeaux when they fought at 130. They only paid Rigondeaux $400K. And just a fun fact to point out how corrupted the sport of boxing is, when Rigondeaux was inactive, they took him off the pound-for-pound list. And as soon as he signed to fight Lomachenko, they put him back on the pound-for-pound list because Lomachenko had all the advantages in the world, and they knew Lomachenko had to win that fight, so they want to give him credit when he does so. And they put Rigondeaux back on the pound-for-pound list. So it shows y'all how corrupted the sport of boxing is. So like I said, since Timothy Bradley want to use the point of Lomachenko, he fought champions right away. Like the Salido fight where he lost. And then the Gary Russell where they fought for a vacant belt. But keep in mind, Gary Russell wasn't a champion. And on top of all that, how old was Lomachenko when he accomplished and became a champion? Or when he moved up to the 130-pound division and won a championship belt there? He was the same age as Terence Crawford. He was a polished fighter. He was a man already. What's more impressive? To have 400 amateur fights, 6 World Series fights where they fought without headgear, and then fight for a title your second fight against a washed-up fighter like Salido, who was washed up at the time already, and then fight for a vacant belt your third fight. Even though you managed to lose your title shot, you still got another title shot. Ain't that ironic? But which is more impressive, that and winning a belt in your third fight, or what Floyd Mayweather accomplished when he got robbed in the Olympics where he should have won a gold medal, and then it took him 1 year to beat the lineal champion at 130, and he managed to knock him out only after 1 year turning pro. But unlike Lomachenko, he wasn't 26, 27 years old. He was 20 years old, or 21, I believe. So Lomachenko, by the time he won a title and then moved up to beat Martinez at 130, he was already 26, 27, a polished fighter at the time already. And he still got defeated on his second pro fight by the same guy that Mikey Garcia washed years ago. When Mikey Garcia beat Salido and knocked him down like 4 times in the first 2 rounds, they considered Salido washed at the time. Then Mikey Garcia moved up and beat Martinez and won a title there at 130. And what did Lomachenko do? He beat Mikey Garcia leftovers. And they labeled him as #1 pound for pound on top of Andre Ward, the guy who knocked out Kovalev at the time, when Kovalev was the 3rd pound for pound fighter in the world. And on top of Terence Crawford, the guy who was the undisputed champion at 140. Something that Lomachenko is trying to accomplish today. Terence Crawford already accomplished that years ago. So what Lomachenko is trying to do today, Terence Crawford already been accomplished. So what do you got to say about that, Timothy Bradley? I could tell Timothy Bradley been hanging around Teddy Atlas a lot, because it was Teddy Atlas that told Andre Ward and Terence Crawford to their face, y'all not competing with each other. Y'all competing against Lomachenko, the guy with 9 fights. And let me ask Timothy Bradley this question. Terence Crawford, who been dominating the pro game for over a decade, or Lomachenko, who been dominating the pro game for like a couple years and managed to lose in between? Obviously, the person that's been dominating for a long period of time. So if that's the case, then how can you justify Lomachenko being or having a better resume than a Terence Crawford? Because he fighting Luke Campbell, a guy with 2 gold medals that lost to Linares? You're not doing Luke Campbell any favor, because if his 2 gold medals served him any good, he should have beaten Linares. He lost to the champion, and Lomachenko already beat Linares. So how does beating Luke Campbell justify you saying that if Lomachenko dominates Luke Campbell, he's the #1 pound for pound, and you will put him on top of Terence Crawford. Keep in mind, Timothy Bradley said the same thing when Lomachenko beat Linares. He stated, oh, I got Lomachenko as my number 1 pound for pound. Terence, my boy. But I got to be honest here and state that Lomachenko is the number 1 pound for pound. Even though Linares dropped Lomachenko in that fight. And when Terence Crawford moved up to fight for his 3rd belt in his 3rd weight class and fought Jeff Horn, he dominated Jeff Horn, the guy who beat Manny Pacquiao. And I know a lot of people feel that Manny Pacquiao won the fight, but regardless, Manny Pacquiao struggled with Jeff Horn. However, Terence Crawford destroyed Jeff Horn, unlike how Lomachenko struggled with a Linares. So at the end of the day, if you compare the accomplishments of Terence Crawford and Lomachenko, it's no comparison. And if you want to talk about how many gold medalists Lomachenko beat, let's talk about how many gold medalists Terence Crawford beat and dominated. Terence Crawford, he defeated Flex Diaz, who was a gold medalist, and he dominated him and knocked him out. Terence Crawford also beat Gamboa, the same guy Mikey Garcia was ducking. Terence Crawford fought him at the time at 135 and dominated him as well. So if you're talking about gold medalists, we could talk about that too. And if Timothy Bradley want to compare becoming undisputed, we could talk about that as well, because Terence Crawford already accomplished that and already achieved that at 140. Something that Lomachenko haven't achieved at 135. Because when Terence Crawford moved up from the 135-pound division, he was the number 1 guy in that division. When he moved up from 140, he was the number 1 guy in that division. Unlike Lomachenko, when he moved up from the 126-pound division, is he really the best at that division, or was he? Because he lost in that division. And Timothy Bradley stated that Lomachenko is about to be the first undisputed champion since I don't know when. I guess he forgot that Terence Crawford just became an undisputed champion at 140. Something that haven't been done for like 2 decades in the sport of boxing. But I guess since Terence Crawford is his guy, he forgot about his accomplishments. And if you want to talk about and compare how many champions they defeated, well, let's talk about it. Lomachenko only defeated Martinez at 134 belt. That was a champion, which Mikey Garcia already defeated years ago. So that was Mikey Garcia left over. Obviously, Gary Russell don't count because he wasn't a champion then. They was fighting for a vacant belt. I believe Salido belt, in fact, that he vacated when he moved up, or that he got stripped of because he didn't make the weight. Now, Gary Russell was never a champion when he fought him, so he was kind of green at the time. And then at 130, obviously Martinez was Mikey Garcia left over. Then he defeated Jason Salsa, who Walters defeated when he was active, not inactive. And obviously after that, he defeated Linares for a belt, then fought Pedraza for another belt that he struggled with. And Pedraza, keep in mind, years before that, Gervonta Tank Davis washed him and knocked him out, unlike Lomachenko, who went 12 rounds with him. Then he fought Corolla, a guy who's not even ranked on the top 10. That's not even a champion after that. So if you compare the champions he defeated to Terence Crawford, is no comparison. Because obviously we know Terence Crawford beat Ricky Byrne, then he beat Gamboa, then moved up and unified the 140-pound division and beat Postal when Postal was the boogeyman, killed Jeff Horn when Jeff Horn came off a huge win versus Manny Pacquiao. So what are we comparing? A Lomachenko who lost to Salido, a washed-up version of Salido, and ducked the Manny Pacquiao fight, and then when was offered a Mikey Garcia fight, he said, well, I just came off a shoulder injury. I can't fight Mikey Garcia right away. Then Mikey Garcia said, I can't wait, and he moved up and fought Errol Spence. Now, I understand if Timothy Bradley believes, well, if Lomachenko defeats a Mikey Garcia or moves up and fights Errol Spence and defeats him, he's number 1 pound for pound in my book, then it will make all the sense in the world. However, if you're talking about Terence Crawford is the number 1 pound for pound now, however, if Lomachenko defeats a Luke Campbell that lost to Linares, that never became a champion. You telling me if he defeats that guy, an ordinary fighter, that's second best in his division, because I believe Devin Haney could defeat him right now. So it ain't like he fighting Godzilla next for you to give him so much credit. He's fighting Luke Campbell, a guy who just lost to Linares a couple fights back. So like Andre Ward told him and schooled him, Bradley, you said this is an easy fight for Lomachenko, that Luke Campbell is not all that. So why are you giving so much praise to Lomachenko if he wins this regular fight? It's not like he fighting Godzilla, like I stated. If he beats a Mikey Garcia when Mikey was undefeated, or if he moves up and fight Errol Spence, then you could give Lomachenko the credit he deserved. But you just want to give him extra credit that he haven't earned and put him on top of your guy, Crawford. Is he really your guy? Or is this hatred? Or is this a situation where you're trying to please your white masters? Because it's not making any sense or adding up. I'm not seeing where Timothy Bradley is coming from, and I don't know why he's acting clueless. He stated that Tyson Fury is the best heavyweight, and Tyson Fury fighting two bums back to back that's not even ranked on the top 50. So if it's about fighting name fighters, because Timothy Bradley was saying, who is Terence Crawford fighting? Then why you don't say the same thing about Tyson Fury? Deontay Wilder fighting Ortiz next. Deontay Wilder just fought Fury, and before that he fought Ortiz, and he fought Brazil. So he fighting name opponents. However, Tyson Fury is fighting unknown fighters, and not just that, he fighting tomato cans that's not even ranked. I don't see you call out Tyson Fury and claim that Wilder's the #1 heavyweight. So I believe they done washed Timothy Bradley brain. And I'm not talking about the Povetkin fight. I'm talking about he been hanging around Teddy Atlas too much. Because forget about supporting your own. He's hating on his own. How can you hate on your own people? That's why I'm not understanding. But like I stated, I believe they done wash his brain. Now, let's keep him moving. He claims that who is Terence Crawford fighting? But since I'm ending this video, I'm not going to answer this question the same way I've been answering the previous questions and comparing him to Lomachenko and say, oh, well, Corolla is not even ranked. Or mention Lomachenko fighting 126-pounder that came off a loss, Mariaga at the time, after winning his second belt in his second weight division. It's too easy. I'm not even going to do that. I'm going to tell you who Terence Crawford trying to fight, Timothy Bradley. Terence Crawford called out Lomachenko and told Lomachenko, if you think you're the #1 pound for pound, we could link up on 137. Lomachenko said absolutely not on his team. Terence Crawford is also trying to fight the same guy that sent you to retirement just because you heard the WBC order the fight between you and him, and that's Errol the Truth Spence. The guy that got the welterweight division shook. The guy that had you shook and scared to look at the PBC side, and that's why you didn't want to go across the street, because that block was too hot. Terence Crawford wants to fight Errol Spence. He wants to fight Danny Garcia. He tried to fight Keith Thurman. But guess what? These guys turned him down. Not Errol Spence. However, I'm talking about Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia. They turned the offer down that Terence Crawford offered them, and they didn't offer Terence Crawford nothing in return. However, Errol Spence is willing to step up to the plate and fight him after Sean Porter or Manny Pacquiao. But my point is, it's not Terence Crawford's fault that these guys are avoiding him. However, it's Lomachenko's fault for ducking a Manny Pacquiao fight. It's Lomachenko's fault for ducking a Mikey Garcia fight before Mikey fought Errol Spence. When Mikey was heavily calling out Lomachenko, Lomachenko blamed it on the injury. It's Lomachenko's fault for turning down a Salido rematch and not wanting to pursue that fight. It's Lomachenko's fault. He don't want no smoke. However, Terence Crawford wants all the smoke. So, pointing out all these facts that I just did, if you still think that Lomachenko is the #1 pound for pound then your mind is corrupted like Timothy Bradley. And like I said, welcome to the IQ University. And hopefully some of y'all graduated. If y'all didn't, well, rewatch the video and hopefully y'all graduate sometime soon. And I'm gonna end this video by stating two things. Terence Crawford, you should run as fast as you can away from Espn and Top Rank. They're not even comparing you to Errol Spence. They're comparing you to Lomachenko. On the same day you fighting your next opponent, it's the same day PBC got a stat card going on. And to make matter worse, instead of promoting you on ESPN, they de-promoting you by using your name to promote Lomachenko. Promoting Lomachenko on your pay-per-view cards. So since your contract is about to be up this year, and all the riders, all that boxing experts, all the fighters except the Andre Ward on ESPN taking credit away from you and giving Lomachenko, the guy who lost to Salido, all this praise, you should go to PBC as fast as you can since your contract is about to be up this year. Because even a blind man could see this. And for Timothy Bradley, an advice for him, stop hanging out with Teddy Atlas and hang out with Andre Ward more often and get some wisdom out of that man. And like I always say, subscribe below if you're trying to get smarter by the minute. If you're trying to get dumb about a second, don't, and listen to these casual fans or Timothy Bradley and the ridiculousness he had to say on the video that I'm going to put in the description box below. Follow Lontoon Boxing for the funniest boxing memes. Follow me at Aki TV on Instagram and on YouTube. All the links will be in the description box below. Click on the notification bell to get notified every time we go live and to be continued on the next episode of Aki TV. Peace, and we out.